Welcome to Switched On Schoolhouse, a CD-ROM-based homeschool curriculum from Alpha Omega Publications. In Switched On Schoolhouse 4th grade science, your students will study topics like plants, man and his environment, electricity and magnetism, weather, our solar system and the universe, and much more. Now let's take a look at a Science 400 lesson to see how concepts like these are covered. In a unit entitled Plants, let's look at a lesson called Plant Life. Most Switched On Schoolhouse lessons begin with a brief introduction and a list of objectives for the lesson. These objectives help students stay focused on important lesson content and provide parents with an effective way to measure mastery of lesson content. At the beginning of most lessons, your students will also encounter a list of vocabulary words that will be used throughout the lesson. We've included several activities to encourage mastery of these important words. For example, students can hear the correct pronunciation of each word.
Reproduce, created.
In addition, the vocabulary arcade games encourage mastery of the vocabulary words by providing practice in the correct spelling of each word and in matching each word with its definition. Flashcards allow students to easily review the words and their definitions. After this introductory material, your students then move independently through the lesson, reading the text-based instruction and utilizing the multimedia features that have been provided. Many lessons include small instructional videos, sometimes called tiny tutors. The teachers featured in these small video clips provide special instructions, additional information, and important tips for students.
Did you know that when you eat your green beans for dinner, you're actually eating seeds? Beans or peas or corn or things like that are really seeds. Once they're cooked, they won't grow anymore. But a fun experiment is to take an uncooked bean and plant it in a pot or styrofoam cup and then water it. You may be surprised to find a young plant growing in the cup after a while.
A variety of audio-visual presentations, including videos, slideshows, and animations, provide reinforcement of lesson content. Animations like this one may help your students better understand difficult concepts.
When conditions are right, the seed begins to sprout. As the seed splits apart, the root begins to form. As the root starts growing down into the ground, the stem starts growing up, pushing through the soil. The plant continues to grow, developing the beginning of leaves from between the two halves of the seed. As the plant grows, it develops its first leaves and continues to grow its root system.
Web-enabled links allow students to safely use the Internet to locate carefully chosen supplements to course content. Here's an example of a video that reinforces a thorough understanding of the skill that is being taught.
God created both living and non-living things. Everything that exists can be categorized as either living or non-living. Living, non-living, non-living, living, living, non-living, non-living, living, living, non-living.
At the end of the lesson, the student is presented with a series of questions that provide a review of lesson content. Questions are presented in a variety of formats, including matching, fill in the blank, true and false, multiple select, click and place, essay
got the right
questions,
answer.
and many more. 85 to 90% of student work is graded instantly by the program. Answers are automatically saved as the student works
answer.
through the questions, and immediate feedback is given after each question has been answered. If a parent has set the program to allow for multiple attempts, students will be looped back through the lesson to answer questions that were marked wrong on the first attempt. The lesson is complete when all questions have been answered correctly, or when the
Nice
student has
job.
exhausted his allowed attempts on each question. The student can then return to the home page to continue through the rest of his daily assignments.